When Jesus Christ took his final breath on that wooden cross, history itself shook to its very core. The world has never been the same since that single moment. Ancient records, sacred scrolls, and eyewitness testimonies describe a scene so shocking, so mysterious, that it continues to echo across centuries. Darkness fell in the middle of the day. At the exact moment he cried out, "It is finished!" Imagine it. The blazing sun extinguished. The skies turned black as though creation itself was mourning. This wasn't an eclipse. Scientists, historians, and ancient scribes confirm it was unlike anything they had ever seen. Nature was testifying that the death of Jesus was not ordinary, it was cosmic. The earth trembled violently, splitting rocks, tearing open the very ground beneath Jerusalem. Graves were opened, and according to multiple ancient accounts, the dead rose and walked among the living. Imagine being in that city, seeing men and women long buried suddenly alive again, declaring that the Son of God had died but somehow unleashed resurrection power even in his death. The Roman centurion who had overseen countless crucifixions dropped to his knees, trembling, and confessed, "Surely this man was the Son of God." What did he see that terrified him to the point of belief? What force made a hardened soldier of Rome bow in awe before the crucified king? But here is the greatest mystery. The veil in the temple, the sacred barrier separating man from God's holy presence, was ripped in two from top to bottom, not by human hands but by an unseen power. This was no accident. This was heaven declaring that through his death, Jesus had torn down the wall between humanity and God. In that instant, the old order shattered. Access to God was no longer reserved for priests, it was open to all. Ancient writings outside the Bible even speak of strange occurrences during that time. The land quaking, unusual lights in the sky, and a silence that fell over Jerusalem as if the city itself knew something beyond comprehension had happened. And while his body lay in the tomb, guarded by Rome's finest soldiers, whispers spread that this death was not an ending, but the beginning of a revolution that would outlast empires. The most powerful empires in history tried to erase this moment, tried to silence it, tried to bury the truth of what happened at Calvary. Yet, the cross stands unshaken, and the story of that day still breaks through every attempt to cover it. Because the death of Jesus was not defeat, it was the strike that shook hell itself. Now here's the cliffhanger. If death could not contain him, if the grave itself trembled at his presence, if history bent and time itself shifted at his final breath, what happened 3 days later would be even more unexplainable, unstoppable, and unforgettable. The question is, are you ready to face the truth of what really happened after that stone was rolled in front of his tomb? Because the moment Jesus died was not the end of the story, it was only the opening act. The moment Jesus' lifeless body was laid in the tomb, a silence fell over the earth. But heaven was not silent. What was happening behind the veil of death? Was hell itself trembling as the Son of God stepped into the realm of the grave? Ancient whispers suggest that while his body lay still, his spirit descended into the depths, confronting the powers of darkness head-on. Can you imagine the fear in the eyes of demons when the crucified king walked into their territory? The soldiers thought they were guarding a tomb, but in reality, they were guarding the doorway of history. What power were they truly trying to keep locked inside? Could the greatest empire of the world stop the plan of the Almighty? The seal of Rome meant nothing compared to the seal of heaven. What did Pilate fear that made him assign soldiers to a dead man's grave? Legends, scriptures, and early writings suggest that the underworld was shaken that night. Was this the moment death lost its grip? Was this when the keys of Hades were snatched from the enemy's hands? If Jesus had truly entered the stronghold of death, then what conversations echoed in those shadowy halls when he arrived? 3 days is all it took. 3 days of silence on the surface, But beneath the silence, a war of eternity was raging. While his disciples mourned, while his enemies celebrated, something unseen was unfolding. What did the unseen realm witness that men could not comprehend? And then the stone. Who really moved it? Was it the hand of an angel blazing with light? Was it the power of God shaking the ground? The guards collapsed in terror, unable to explain what they saw. What vision struck fear into battle-hardened soldiers, leaving them as dead men? The women came at dawn, expecting a corpse, but found an empty tomb. Who told them, "He is not here, he is risen"? Was it the voice of heaven breaking through the morning air? And if the tomb was empty, then where was the body? Rumors exploded through Jerusalem. Some said the disciples stole him. Others whispered of angels. But the question remains, how could a group of terrified fishermen outwit Rome's guards? What really happened inside that tomb when the first light of resurrection pierced the darkness? And here's the hook of hooks. If Jesus truly rose, then death itself has been undone. If the grave could not contain him, then every kingdom, every ruler, every force of evil stands defeated. But if he did not, then how has his name outlived empires, toppled thrones, and turned the world upside down? The answer lies not in history books, but in the trembling of your own soul when you hear this story. Because what happened after Jesus died is not just ancient history. It's the mystery that still calls your name today. This is history at its best. Stay tuned and subscribe. Thank you all.